Alright, let's do this. The storm knocked out my cable and my internet for a few days, but I'm finally back. Interesting that the outage started right before the new Stargirl, though. I can't help but wonder, was this somehow because of Greg Berlanti? Could he tell that I was actually beginning to enjoy Stargirl and he just couldn't take it after I spent an entire season destroying his baby Batwoman? So he decided to use his evil powers to screw with me somehow? Did that storm happen because of Berlanti? Probably. But the joke's on him, because now you guys get a 2-in-1 review. I'm going to cover episodes 12 and 13, and since this was a two-parter anyway, that works out fine. So, hit the intro and let's finish out Stargirl Season 1 before it becomes an official CW show, and they completely ruin it. Episode 12 begins with Icicle watching that countdown to when his big plan starts. Dude, that thing's never gonna boil if you just keep staring at it like that. Brainwave comes in and tells him that the order was given, and Ito is preparing the machine. He also mentions that though everyone he reprograms will fight for them if need be, there will be a significant cost for doing this. Icicle's wife would have been proud of them though, but Icicle's not really listening, his mind is somewhere else. He just tells Brainwave to let him know when Stargirl and her family are dead. So then we cut to them. Courtney and Barbara are packing up to go camping, and Pat has taken Mike to the garage to finally tell him that, his life is in danger from a team of murderous supervillains. Mike resents that no one has told him what's going on yet, even though they surely told Courtney. And Pat's trying to tell him now, but he's reverted back to brat mode, playing with this power drill all passive-aggressively. Pat yells at him to listen, and then Mike gets angry. "Stop treating me like a little kid!" he says in that oh-so-charming way petulant kids always say that line. So Mike storms out, and then Crusher walks in. Crusher admits to being surprised when he found out about Pat, and then he asks where the robot is. Because, like everyone else in Blue Valley, he somehow couldn't see it through the fucking window. So Crusher attacks, and I feel like the writers missed an opportunity here to do something with his character. I thought it might be interesting, since he knows Pat personally, to have Crusher be a little conflicted about this. But he's not really. There's a bit more going on here with Crusher kind of toying with Pat and letting him get a few shots in, but mostly he's just there to kill him. And I was confused about this fight. I was under the impression that Sportsmaster was just a normal non-powered dude, but he's throwing Pat around like a crash test dummy, hitting him with one punch that blasts him back like 10 feet. I don't know what's going on here, but if Crusher doesn't have super strength, then this does not make sense. So yeah, Pat, God bless him, puts up a fight, but he gets his ass kicked, and Crusher's about to finish him off when Mike shows up and stabs Crusher in the back with the power drill. And it doesn't get, super gory or anything, but Jesus, that's pretty hardcore for a 12-year-old. So Crusher's distracted by this, and Pat knocks him out with a big-ass wrench. He then puts the Stripe Armor in autopilot mode, and then they leave without tying Crusher up or trapping him under something heavy or anything. They just leave him lying there on the floor, which is exactly the sort of thing a CW character would do. God damn it, it's happening already! So while this is happening, Tigress shows up at the house and attacks Barbara. I still don't get the Tigress mask. It doesn't even cover one whole side of her face. It's not concealing her identity at all. So Barbara's about to die when Courtney saves her with the cosmic staff. Then Courtney and Tigress fight, and there's some fun choreography here where Courtney and the staff have to alternate between fighting Tigress and protecting Barbara, who's just getting thrown around all over the place. Thankfully, they keep that within reason, so Barbara avoids getting locked in a refrigerator or something. So they go at it for a bit, and they're kind of at a stalemate until Barbara smashes a vase over Tigress's head. With that one move, Barbara proved herself more useful in a fight than Beth has been in 12 episodes. And then Courtney blasts Tigress out the door. Barbara says that was amazing. As long as you're not going to say stunning and or brave, I'll take it. Then we cut over to Icicle. His parents are talking about how Barbara wouldn't have been a suitable wife for their son anyway, so screw her. Then they ask if they should tell Cameron what's about to go down, seeing as how the ISA is about to wreak massive havoc on like half the country, and this is his birthright or whatever, but Icicle says no. Not sure why. The kid's gonna find out on his own pretty soon anyway. Then Icicle is informed that the murder Stargirl's family plan went tits up, so he calls an audible. Cut to Principal Bowen walking into her office. Her son is there waiting for her, and he's all upset that some asshole was bullying him because he's in band or something, and wow. What kind of dumbass do you have to be to bully the son of the principal? How much of a geek is this kid for you to f*** yourself over like that just to mess with him? And bear in mind, this is the school where Joey Zarek was one of the cool kids. This high school must be in the frickin' upside down or something, because nothing about this place makes any sense whatsoever. So she tells him that his dad was also picked on for playing his favorite instrument. No homo, I'm assuming. But he kept at it, and eventually the bullies stopped bothering him after he took his violin bow and put it through their eardrums. If I'm the kid, I've got a few questions about that story, but he just looks menacingly at his tuba, and this is just silly. Now, if it was a trumpet, the most deadly of all musical instruments, then I'd be scared. Anyone who saw my Batwoman reviews will get that reference. This doesn't really track with Bowen, though. In a previous episode, she wanted the ISA to keep their kids away from the supervillain stuff because her son was too sensitive for this life, or whatever. But now she's telling him this, knowing the ideas it might conjure up in his head? What changed? I don't know. So Courtney's family and the JSA kids meet up at some cabin in the woods. You'd think they'd want to keep a low profile, and yet all the lights are on. Weird. Also, Justin shows up too, and the stripe armor flies in. Mike wants to know when he gets to drive it. Good one, kid. Master the power drill first, then we'll talk. Cut to Ito's lab. Cindy's still locked up in there. Brainwave walks in. She asks him if Stargirl is dead yet, and he tells her that she had a job to watch Henry for signs of his telepathy emerging, and if he'd known about that, he might have been able to help Henry, but instead he had to end him. Because of you. And Cindy's reaction to this is awesome, because she doesn't even blink at finding out that Henry's dead, maybe, and instead she just fires back all snotty-like that what would have helped Henry is if his dad hadn't been in a coma wearing adult diapers while the rest of them had to pick up the slack. So Brainwave goes for the deep cut, tells Cindy that her own father sees her as a failed experiment, and she calls him a liar. She thinks her dad loves her. I'm not sure what she's basing that on, but okay. She wants out, thinks she can help the ISA, but no dice. They all feel the same way her father does. They don't want her. Great job, dude. If she ever gets out of that cell, she's gonna be a psychopath. More so. Brainwave tells Ito that he's ready for the test, so Ito takes him to the machine, and damn, this thing is massive. The scope of it is pretty epic. It's mostly CG, obviously, but it's a really impressive set piece. They must have spent a ton of money on this thing. It just looks amazing. So Ito straps Brainwave into the chair, and then he warns him that this will either work or literally melt his brain. Brainwave's good either way, so Ito hits the juice. A whole bunch of lightning bolts or Tesla coils lash out and strike him in the head, and he can suddenly hear millions of ugly thoughts all at once, so apparently the machine works. We get a bunch of scenes of everybody at the cabin. Yolanda's really quiet. Beth asks her if she's thinking about Henry, and she says no, but AI Chuck knows she's lying. Rick is still trying to decode his dad's journal. He's figured out the code, but he's missing one particular number to finish the equation. He asks Justin if he has any ideas, but Justin goes to clean the bathroom instead, so his priorities are totally sorted. Also, Mike talks to Courtney, and he's starting to feel a little bit insecure and left out, because suddenly it seems like everybody's got some cool superpower except him. He says Courtney's really lucky that the staff chose her. He even wonders if it might have chosen him if he'd found it first, and she even lets him try it out. But it doesn't do anything. But Mike's okay with that. because his dad doesn't have powers either, but he still built that giant robot suit. So maybe one day Mike can do something cool like that too. And presumably this is building up to Mike getting Johnny Thunder's pen, but who knows. Part of me thinks Justin will die protecting Mike and then Mike will get Excalibur. I'm not sure which option makes me more uncomfortable. So back at the house, Crusher has arrived, which he wouldn't have been able to do if they'd tied him up, just saying. And he's going on about all the horrible things he's gonna do to Mike when Bowen shows up. Icicle sent her to make sure they didn't fail a second time, so she's gonna use her violin to immobilize the JSA kids. That's it? You're not even gonna stick the bow through their eardrums? Pfft, lame. Crusher's disappointed. Killing immobile targets is no fun, but Bowen says this isn't about fun, and you sadists get too much pleasure out of this sort of thing. And she feels sick imagining how Artemis is gonna turn out. And their reaction to this is priceless. Crusher is offended by the implication that they don't love their daughter, and when Bowen says that they're unfit parents, Tigress doesn't bat an eye and just shoots her with a crossbow and kills her. I'm not sure who won the argument. So of all the things that could have set them off, it was the affront to their parenting that they won't stand for. I kinda love that. Like, they may be cold-blooded killers, but suggesting that they're not the parents of the fucking year, that's what's going over the line. But as cool as this was, how smart is it to be killing your own teammates when one of them is telepathic and will very quickly know everything you're doing? That was not a smart move on their part. Back at the cabin, Barbara asks Pat why he never told her about any of this before they got married. Fair question. He says that everyone who ever knew about it ended up dead, and he hoped this life was behind him. Plus, you know, the dude did watch most of his friends die horribly in one night. It probably isn't something he likes to talk about. Then he asks her if the two of them are gonna be okay, and she wants them to be. So that's not a no, but it's not a yes. We go to Rick, who's really frustrated with the journal. He's tried every number he can think of to unlock the code, people's birthdays, stuff like that, but he's getting nowhere. Pat asks if there was anything else his dad cared about that had a number associated with it beyond silly stuff like his son and his wife. Hey, what about that '66 Mustang he had? So that does it. Rick finally figures out the code and unlocks the secret of the journal, which turns out to be a map of the underground tunnels, including the location of the ISA conference room and Dr. Ito's machine, which I thought he hadn't started building until years after Our Man died. Here's a question. This is very important information that would be incredibly valuable to anyone who's opposing the ISA. So why would Our Man make the journal so difficult to decode? If the point would be for the good guys to have access to this information when they need it, wouldn't he want this map to be readily available? I don't understand this. So Beth scans the journal with the goggles and projects a holographic map for everyone to see. It even has a display of the completed machine, and beats the hell out of me how Our Man would have had that. Didn't Ito just finish building the damn thing like yesterday? So take that part with a grain of salt. But what's really nice about this is they finally start doing the one thing they've never been able to do this entire season. They make a plan. They're like, okay, let's split into two teams and enter the tunnels at different points to avoid detection, and then we'll meet at this place to take down the machine, and while we're doing that, Beth is gonna hack into the ISA's computers from the New America building. And sure, you can poke holes in this plan if you want to, but at least they're trying. They're not running in half-cocked this time. They're actually attempting to use their heads for a change. Hot damn, these characters may have actually learned something. Barbara wants to go with Beth. Pat objects to this, but Barbara points out that she knows that building, and also Beth is 15. Additionally, I'd like to point out that Beth is pretty useless in a fight, so yeah, take an adult. So the plan is set, everybody has their assignments. Beth is excited that they actually have a plan this time, and god damn it, she should be. This is a big step for them. And even Mike gets a job. The most important job of all. Looking after the dog. And not the cosmic staff, mind you, the real dog. Oh yeah, Mike's gonna crush the hell out of this. This is what that paper route was preparing him for. So Stargirl and Stripe enter the tunnels through some sewer, Rick, Yolanda, and Justin enter through the tunnels under Cindy's house, and Barbara takes Beth to the New America building. Apparently Beth can hack the ISA from Barbara's office. Wow, that is convenient. And it's worth pointing out that Beth is the only JSA member who's not in costume during this mission. Maybe the writers finally got the message. Barbara's password is New Kids on the Block, and Beth has no idea what that is. Chuck has to tell her, and she's like, okay, stay on mission, Chuck. How about that? Beth actually gets a funny line. Even the most annoying character on the show is making progress here. Though she does mention that whenever she's gone into those tunnels, she's lost contact with everyone, which seems like something she really should have mentioned before they did this. But they haven't lost contact yet. So Beth hacks the ISA database or whatever, or rather Chuck does, and she tells everyone that they have about 35 minutes before the machine starts, and once it does, they'll have 30 minutes to stop it before the effects become permanent, and the ISA will have achieved their nefarious goals of ending global warming, embracing clean energy, eliminating discrimination, and universal health care. Those evil sons of bitches! Also, the telepathic reprogramming will only affect adults because the plot says so, and it will kill about 25 million of them. But then the big twist happens. Turns out the gambler has been listening in on their whole conversation, and then he pulls an Ozymandias and Watchmen on them. They don't have 30 minutes until the broadcast starts. The broadcast already started. They have 30 minutes to stop it. Brainwave has already taken control of every adult mind in half the country, including Barbara, Justin, and Pat, who's in the stripe armor and about to beat Courtney like a drum. And the real bitch of it is, right before she realizes what's happening, Courtney actually asks Pat what they should do. So the first time Courtney genuinely wants Pat's advice, and his brain is out to lunch, so he can't even enjoy it. Ain't that always the way? Unbelievable. Really good cliffhanger, because Pat and Courtney finally had their bonding moment a little while ago after Courtney's dad showed up, and now that they're all close and stuff, she has to fight Pat. That was built up really nicely. And episode 13 begins with another flashback to 3 minutes ago. Now they're just doing this out of habit. We're on the high school football field where Principal Bowen's son is beating the living shit out of that bully with his tuba. Dude, we just went over this. What did I tell you? A tuba is kid stuff. You need a trumpet! With a trumpet, you will be unstoppable! So a teacher breaks up the fight and takes Tuba Boy to the principal, but then the football field opens up. The whole field. And the ISA satellite dish, this huge satellite dish, rises up out of the ground. And holy shit! Kudos to the effects team because this thing looks great! They must have been saving up their money for this two-parter all season because they've got some damn good CG set pieces in this thing. I've been really impressed so far. So the teacher is catatonic and brainwashed, every adult in town is catatonic and brainwashed, Icicle finds some little girl on the street trying to get her dad to wake up, and he tells her that it's okay, it's gonna be alright. Everyone will think differently when they wake up, they'll all believe the right things this time. You know, like mass brainwashing and killing anyone who disagrees with you. That's what's gonna fix this country according to Icicle. Wow, what a leader, what a trailblazer. Watch out, Trump. Step aside, Biden. Shut your damn trap, Kanye West. There's a new kid in town. Back to Pat and Courtney. Pat's attacking. Courtney's on the defensive here, trying to get through to him. And Courtney makes some real progress here. She's abandoned all the arrogance and resentment she used to have for Pat, and she's trying to appeal to him like they have a real father-daughter relationship now. She says he's always been there for her, and she needs him, and she even calls herself his daughter. And this causes Pat to pause, which means he started fighting the brainwashing, which also means that the brainwashing could kill him. And going back to what I said earlier about Courtney getting the staff to work again too soon, big missed opportunity there. Just imagine if this scene had happened before she got the staff back. So Courtney can't defend herself from Stripe, she's completely helpless. I mean, the scene works as is, but you don't really feel like Courtney's in that much danger here because she still has the cosmic staff. You're more worried about Pat dying from fighting the brainwashing. Imagine how much more powerful it would be if you take the staff away and Courtney's saying all this stuff as Stripe is, like, trying to strangle her to death or something. Now it's way more dramatic. Now you're worried about both of them. Still a good scene, but I think they could have gone further with that one. Cut over to Beth. AI Chuck thinks the brainwashing is not affecting the ISA because they're using signal blockers of some kind. I just assumed that Brainwave was choosing not to brainwash his own teammates, but okay. And Beth figures out that the reason the goggles always crapped out down in the tunnels is because that's where the blockers are. Alright, but we just saw Icicle above ground outside the tunnels and he wasn't brainwashed. They don't really explain that. Beth mentioned something about earpieces, but I didn't notice Icicle wearing one, so what happened there? Did I miss something? They can hijack the blockers to free Pat, Justin, and Barbara, but the gambler won't let that happen, so Chuck finds the gambler's offshore accounts and donates all his money to the American Red Cross. And this distracts the gambler, even though the ISA are about to basically own half the country and could probably print their own money if they wanted to, so they access the blockers and free Pat and Justin. Pat tells Courtney that he heard what she said. She says she meant every word, and it's a really nice moment. Those two have come a pretty long way together in 13 episodes. Cut to Rick and Yolanda. Rick is all fired up about killing Grundy after they smash the machine. Yolanda tries to talk him out of this. Killing is wrong because God says so, says the girl who was seriously considering murdering Henry on more than one occasion. But Rick's like, well, then God shouldn't let bad things happen to good people. And that's a pretty loaded line for both of them. So the whole team comes together in Ito's lab, which is deserted, but then the ISA marches in, and they have a really damn good fight sequence here. The stunt team earned their paychecks on this one. It's this huge battle with both teams going at it, tons of bodies all over the place. They do one of those long tracking shots with no cuts, which are always fun. Cindy's cell door is broken open during the chaos, so when Ito is about to kill Justin, Cindy stabs Ito to death from behind. Cool moment there. Stripe and Icicle are facing off at one point. I'm not sure why Icicle couldn't just freeze the armor like he did last time. Maybe Pat made some upgrades or something. But yeah, overall, a really great fight. The JSA kids win. Still not totally buying that they'd be a match for these guys, but a giant robot does make for a pretty big equalizer, I guess. And then the gambler lets Grundy out of his cell. Rick lunges at Grundy, ready to just tear this guy apart, and he gets batted aside like he's Ricochet and Grundy is Brock Lesnar. He's like a gnat to Grundy. It's pretty funny, actually. So Pat tells the girls to go after the machine while he helps Rick. They're about to hit the tunnel, but then Cindy ambushes Courtney, so Yolanda goes in alone, and she's then confronted by a whole bunch of Ito's drones, and she has to fight them by herself. Then we cut over to Brainwave, who gets up out of the chair and tells the gambler to loop his signal for a couple minutes while he goes to kill the children. So apparently the machine can run without him? How badly did they really need him for this, then? Then the gambler tells Icicle that he needs to stop Beth before her and AI Chuck take control of their entire system, so Icicle runs off to the New America building. Meanwhile, Yolanda's defeated all the drones except the last one, which takes its hood off, and it's Henry. He says he didn't die when the tunnel caved in on him. He's been hiding down here this whole time and blah blah blah. And Yolanda's happy he's alive, but then he asks her where her friends are, and that strikes her as odd because they were Henry's friends too. Were they? And she realizes that this is not the real Henry. So she pops those claws and slashes his throat open. Just like that. It's a really cold-blooded moment, actually. They don't have time to explore it right now, but damn, Yolanda's got a dark streak. So the telepathic mask disappears, it's Brainwave, and he just bleeds out and dies. Yikes. Then we cut to Stripe versus Grundy, and Pat tries, but this doesn't go very well for him. Grundy is ripping the armor's limbs off one by one, and he's about to get to Pat when Rick saves him. They do a bunch of those last-minute saves in this episode. And now, Rick is gonna get his shot, provided he doesn't get swatted away like a bug again. Now, unfortunately, and I was bummed out about this, since there's so much going on here, we don't get a proper round 3 for Stargirl versus Asshole Chick number 1. There just isn't enough time. So Courtney just blasts Cindy, and that's that. Then she goes to meet Yolanda and finds her standing over Brainwave's corpse. And there's a fascinating character beat here where Yolanda's really quiet and emotionless, like, I did it. I knew it was wrong. But I did it. Okay, let's go find that machine. And then she runs off, and Courtney is just standing there for a second, looking low-key horrified at what Yolanda's just done. And they can't get into it right now, but the writers are planting a seed for a really interesting Yolanda storyline here. I mean, yeah, Brainwave was a villain, but she still took a life. And I don't think it's gonna be like on Batwoman where they just brush that shit off. No, this is gonna have consequences. This is a really bold direction to go in with Yolanda. I did not see this coming. So they find the giant satellite dish, Courtney flies up there and takes it down. And I have to wonder, if this thing was under the football field the whole time, which they would have known because they had the map that led them right to it, why did they have to split up and enter the tunnels through the sewer in Cindy's house? Why couldn't they literally just drive over to the high school and blast their way down through the football field? I mean, it seems like they made this a lot more complicated than it needed to be. But the episode's been really good, so I'm willing to give them a pass on this one. So the ISA signal goes offline, the gambler fucks off, Barbara wakes up, and then Icicle walks in. He freezes the goggles and breaks them. He blasts Beth in a non-lethal way because the plot says so, even though he could have killed her real easily. And then he takes Barbara up to the roof. So Pat goes to help Barbara while Rick fights Grundy with 5 minutes of super strength left. And they could have done something cool here with Rick racing against the clock to take Grundy down before his hour runs out. But they really don't. Minor gripe there. Instead, Rick just beats the shit out of Grundy until Grundy's got no fight left in him at all, and Rick's just screaming at him to fight back. Fight back! Fight back! Fight back! But Grundy just puts up his hands. He's had enough. And Rick gives serious thought to crushing Grundy's head with a big piece of rubble, but then he realizes that Grundy is like an animal. He might not be evil. Maybe he was just a tool of the ISA. So he spares him and tells him to get out. Another really interesting moment here. Both Rick and Yolanda are presented with the same choice, and they make different decisions. Probably the opposite ones you thought they'd make. And I don't think that was an accident. The writers have positioned Rick and Yolanda as opposite sides of the same coin, where Rick chose the better path and Yolanda chose the dark path. There's potential for some great character stuff they could do with this next season. So Courtney and Yolanda find Beth, who is really upset because he killed Chuck. Then we go to Icicle and Barbara on the roof, and for the first time, Icicle is acting desperate. He has totally lost his cool. Get it? He's ranting and raving about how this town was dying until they brought it back, which means nothing to the audience because we never saw that, and all this was to help people. Barbara points out that his version of helping people has had a pretty noticeable body count so far, but he likens it to curing cancer, which makes sense to him because he's evil. He says his wife died because of the way people think, so he's gonna change how they think. He's gonna save America, and Barbara can come with him, and he can protect Courtney from the others and all that stuff. But it turns out that Barbara does not have a thing for popsicles after all, so she swipes left and says his wife would be horrified by what he's become. That's Icicle's breaking point, and he's about to throw her off the roof when Pat shows up. Everybody gets a last-minute save this week, so Pat distracts Icicle, and then Courtney attacks him from behind. So Courtney and Icicle fight for a minute, they both get thrown off the roof, Yolanda saves Courtney while Icicle hits the ground, which he survives somehow, and now he's pissed. He's about to go nuclear winter on everyone's asses, and then Mike crashes into him with a pickup truck and kills him. So yeah, Mike killed a guy. And it's presented as a triumphant moment, which kind of takes some of the edge out of that Yolanda story, but I guess we can call this one self-defense. Maybe. So Barbara's about to fall off the roof, Pat saves her, they make out, Courtney's happy about this now, and all's well that ends well, I guess. Except for 2 of these kids being murderers now. Sometime later, everybody's relaxing at the football field. I don't know where the hell all the satellite dish wreckage went, but it's long gone because magic. Rick is in a really good mood, he's found a new optimism, and he's smiling so much it's downright uncharacteristic, whereas Yolanda is really distant and Beth is sad about the goggles. Courtney and Rick say they'll find a way to fix the goggles, but it's Chuck Beth is really worried about. And this is a good move for Beth, I think, because the issue with her, beyond her just being annoying, has always been that AI Chuck did everything. She was just a vehicle for the goggles. Now the goggles are broken, and Beth, and also I suspect the writers, has to figure out what she can contribute without the goggles. I'm sure they'll come up with something, but nothing really springs to mind right now. Justin's packing up his stuff. He's kind of down on himself. He came to Blue Valley to slay a dragon, but in the end, he couldn't do anything. But Pat lifts his spirits. You helped us figure out what was going on, and you helped us fight the ISA, and there'll be other dragons to slay, so cheer up, buddy. This does cheer him up, and Justin says Starman would have been proud of Pat. I don't know. The Starman we met in the pilot seemed like kind of a jerk, but okay. Then Justin thanks everybody and leaves town to go find his horse. Then we cut to the ISA conference room where some mysterious dude is watching the news lady blame everything on a freak earthquake. Oh yeah, earthquakes always result in temporary brainwashing and mass catatonia for adults only. That makes total sense. And I got pretty excited because it looks like this mysterious dude is the Shade. Hell yeah! If the Shade is the big bad of Season 2, count me in. I love the Shade's powers. Umbra kinetic powers are just f***ing cool. So if we're gonna be seeing more of him, sign me up. Then we see Cindy tearing apart some storage bunker somewhere. She finds a diamond-shaped thing and she says, I see you in there, Eclipso. I'm not a big DC guy. I'm not sure who Eclipso is, but this show's track record with villains has been great, so I'm optimistic that they'll do something cool with this. 6 weeks later, everybody's over for Christmas. Even though you'd think the JSA kids would be with their own families, and Yolanda's supposed to be like permanently grounded, I don't know what happened to that, but everyone's really happy. Rick and Yolanda look kind of flirty in the background there, and then Courtney takes Pat aside, and she gives Pat a present. It's the one from the pilot, the one she was going to give her dad, the one she saved all these years. It's a mug with World's Greatest Dad on it. And yeah, it's cheesy as hell, but screw it, they earned this one. So Pat and Courtney hug. Courtney finally embraces Pat as her real father figure. Everybody takes a picture, which Courtney is pinning up on her wall later when the cosmic staff taps on her window. So her and the staff go flying, they sit on the water tower and just take in the view. Then Stripe sits down next to them. I have no idea how the water tower can support Stripe's weight, but they built up a lot of goodwill with the last few episodes, so I'll let them have this one. And then the stinger at the end, a guy shows up at some apartment building in North Hollywood looking for Pat, not knowing that he'd moved out. And it's Starman! That's where it ends. That's a wrap on Stargirl Season 1, and congratulations, Jeff Johns! You stumbled a little bit out of the gate when the show started, but you stuck the landing. This was a damn good finale. Now there were some nitpicks you could point out, like why would Brainwave disguise himself as Henry to fool Yolanda when he could just read her mind and find out where the others are that way? That made no sense. But in the big picture, it did what it needed to do and it got the important stuff right. It was exciting, dramatic, there was a terrific action sequence, almost every character got a moment to shine, and it set up some great new directions to take these characters in later on. Rick started out as this prototypical hard-luck angry guy, but now he's in a better place and he feels like the optimistic one. Beth started as someone who's just there so the goggles can impart information, but now she has to figure out how she herself can have value. She's still kind of annoying, but they're working on that. Yolanda's got a new dark side to explore that seems really contrary to her upbringing. Pat's not being a doormat anymore, Mike stopped being a dick to everybody, and Courtney started out as really bratty, arrogant, and deluded about a bunch of things, and she gained humility, she accepted Pat as a mentor figure and a parent, and she became a lot more likable as a result. And man, what a great group of villains they came up with, too. I'm gonna miss Icicle. As a big bad, he left big shoes to fill. They could have done a little more with Barbara, in my opinion, but overall I think the characters were done justice here. Even if several of them were kind of frustrating for a while. In the end, just about everyone ended up in a more interesting place than they were in when the show started. And the best part is, minus a few things here and there, the season was refreshingly free of identity politics. For the most part, not 100%, there was some stuff early on I had to tilt my head at, but for the most part, it feels like the writers were not making creative decisions based on trying to check this box or that box. They were just trying to tell a good story with good characters. And that's great! Take notes, Batwoman writers, this is how it's done! Yeah, that first batch of episodes do have their share of issues. The pacing was too fast, and there were some elements that don't really add up or feel like retcons. But in the back half of the season, things really started clicking into place. The characters got better, the pacing got better, and by the end, I felt like they really had something here. Stargirl did it! It turned out to be a positive experience reviewing this show, and after Batwoman, I feel like that's all I can really ask for. So, hats off to the cast and crew, and to you, Jeff Johns. I think there's just one last thing to say. If you enjoyed this review, or if you didn't, leave a comment down below. I've covered every episode, so check out the playlist on the channel, ding that bell icon, and follow me on Twitter using the link in the description so you'll always be notified when I upload new videos. Like, share, subscribe to help me fend off the algorithm. Make sure you're still subscribed, since YouTube may have unsubscribed you since the last time you were here, and I'll be back with more very soon. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, social distance, wear a mask, all that stuff, and I'll see you next time.